Hey, Brad Bob here, and I want to talk today about TSP and BPAs, or Beneficiary Participant Accounts. All right. So, this is what a TSP turns into after a TSP participant dies, and then the spouse chooses to leave TSP there, and it becomes a Beneficiary Participant Account. All right. So, I've talked about this a little bit before. There's some issues with inheriting money, passing money on to kids after it becomes a BPA. But another one that's a pretty big deal is the RMDs, required minimum distributions, and the IRS single life expectancy table. So I've also talked about issues with, say, somebody dies with a TSP or an IRA, the choices that a spouse has as far as what to do with that account. All right, you can move the money into an inherited IRA. A spouse can move the money into their own IRA, and there's pros and cons to each of these. Okay, but if you leave the money in TSP and a BPA, you don't have that choice, right? It stays in that beneficiary participant account. All right, and there comes a point in time where you're going to have to take distributions. The account holder is going to have to take distributions from that account. And that's exactly the exact timing of it is going to depend on when the account owner inherited it. If it was prior to age 72 or after age 72. But I just want to go through a couple things about how this works, because I worked with somebody that whose family member had one here this past week. And I thought it'd be a good idea to do a quick video on it, because it's a huge difference in what the RMD is. It can be. So in this scenario, the account holder and the BPA owner were both 87. Okay, so they were 87. One spouse passes, then TSP becomes a beneficiary participant account for the surviving spouse. All right, and she had to, in the year of death, all right, if the account holder did not take the RMD, then the RMD has to be taken based on his life expectancy. But the following year and subsequent years, it's based on the single life IRS table. Okay, so we're talking about BPAs here. That does not work. So we're talking about BPAs, beneficiary participant account, and we're using the IRS single life table. Okay. Now, person that originally passed was a saver who done a good job saving, and then got to retirement, still didn't take money out, so his TSP grew quite a bit. It was around $2 million at his death. Okay. Now, $2 million at his death. How do you use the single life table? It is the way that you use it is the factor I believe is 7.1 at the age of 87. So what you do is, the account holder takes this account balance, 2 million, divides by 7.1, comes up with a number around 281,000. Excuse me, allergy season. So $281,000 is what the surviving spouse had to take out in that year. All right, what about the next year? Okay, the next year you take the account balance, whatever it is, you take the 7.1 factor, you subtract 1, you get 6.1, and then if the account balance stays the same, it goes from 2.1 million minus the 281, then you're just going to get another 281. If it grows, it's going to be higher, but the theory here is that 7.1 that you started with, they want the account depleted in that 7.1 years. Okay, so that's the way that works. All right, $281,000. Okay, keep that number in mind. That's a big number, right? And you don't have options. There's no flexibility there. It's in the BPA. You've got to take 281,000 out. You use that one table. All right. Now, if the money's in an IRA, which is what this lady ended up doing. She ended up taking the money and moving it to her IRA, and then she can use the uniform life table. Okay, using the uniform life table, guess what her RMD was? Quite a bit different. Using the uniform table, her RMD was $133,000. Okay, almost $150,000 difference. That is a big, big number. Okay, and it's a big number for all kinds of reasons. But two big reasons for her. One is she's on Medicare, so she's got Medicare Part B, and her surcharge is, she's paying the highest surcharge right now. I forgot what it was, but it's an extra, I think it's an extra $400 some she's paying with her total income. And then the other thing is, when you get to, a lot of factors come into play when you're age 87, don't really need that, you don't need the $281,000. So it would benefit her to leave more money there in the IRA, because her beneficiaries, so her 3 kids, their tax rates are all lower than hers. All right. So if she has, let's say she has $2 million, that $2 million passes on to her 3 kids, and the money is not in the BPA, it's in her IRA. Then what those kids can do is they can take that money, put it in an inherited IRA for themselves, and then they have a 10-year time window to take that money out. Okay, so just split that up. It's $650,000 or $670,000, some odd number. They can take that money, they put it into an IRA, and then they have a 10-year time window to figure out how to take that money out and minimize what they're paying in taxes. All right. If you leave your money in a BPA, you are not going to have that option if you live long enough. Well, you won't have that option, period, with 10 years. So it's a big deal. All right. So just want to go over that. Beneficiary participant accounts use this single life table. Okay. And the single life table has you taking really large withdrawals out. Versus if the participant moved the money out and into their own IRA, odds are really, really high that the distribution that person is going to have to take is going to be a lot lower. Okay? So it's a way to drastically reduce RMDs. Basically, it works way better for beneficiaries inheriting the account. BPAs are typically not a good thing. All right? So hope that helps. Hope you learned something today. Thanks.